Okay, we are live in the green room with Christina DeRosa today. Hey, Christina,
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm fantastic, and I can't tell you how appreciative I am of you having the lighting right, having the sound right, and being all set and ready to go. Because yesterday I was doing a live stream and I had 48 minutes of issues, and
Oh no, I'm so sorry. Oof.
it became a comedy show. And I guess some people kind of thought it was funny and watched it, but we had nothing to do but have issues the whole time. So,
Oh no. Well, let's pray that today it'll be completely smooth and we will be gone of any type of issues.
absolutely. Okay. So, I want to get right to this. You have something coming out on May 22nd, and it's a movie premiering. It's called Inheritance. Can you tell me about that? Because there was supposed to be something that the Tribeca Film Festival that got canceled. Is that correct?
That is correct. Inheritance, starring Simon Pegg and Lily Collins, who's a dream to work with. We originally had a Tribeca Film Festival premiere, and then we were going to go to theatrical release. We were going to be in movie theaters, but of course, with COVID 19, that's not the case anymore. Tribeca Film Festival got canceled, and of course, we don't know what's going to happen with all movie theaters. But right now, friends and family and fans can see it on DirecTV, and then it'll be on video on demand come May 22nd.
So that's this is a good question. So with all of the theaters closing down, and this now it's going to be on DirecTV. Do you think that a lot of stuff is going to be just live streamed through TV, and that's the way it's going to go for a while?
Well, definitely there's talk of a lot of movie theaters unfortunately having to shut down right now. I mean, obviously, COVID 19 has affected us all, not just emotionally, but financially. So who knows what's going to be happening? I do believe that Netflix is in a powerful position right now, and Netflix is going to be. Netflix is just like the king of all right now, right? I mean, if you could get on Netflix, that's pretty hot. Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, that's where it's at. I'm currently right now as a producer, I'm working on an animated feature film. And I will say, even though a lot of live action movies are not able to shoot right now, animation is the way to go because you just have voiceover actors in a studio as opposed to on set.
You
It
know,
comes down to, oh, please go ahead.
no, that's what I wanted to ask you about producing because I was reading some stuff about how you've transitioned into doing that, and now you're in a position to be producing and giving content to all of those streaming companies, uh, because that's the way we're going to be going right now, right?
Well, streaming is definitely hot.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, who knows? People are talking about bringing back drive-in movie theaters. What do you think about that? Would that be fun?
It would be that would be a real throwback. Sit in your car. That would
Right?
be cool.
Right? Absolutely. I think actually some restaurants might even implement that system where you're literally just driving up and maybe they attach something to your window where it's kind of like a little tray slash table. I mean, of course, it will work better for fast food as opposed to, a formal, fancy five-star dining. But with everything going on right now, it might be a fun way for people to still get some food and feel like they're going out.
It It might be. Now, my only memory of going to a drive-in theater, and I'm quite a bit older, but the the movie the last movie I went to see at a drive-in theater was The Exorcist.
Oh, wow.
When it was first released, and when was that? Like the 70s or 80s or something?
And what was that like watching in your car?
It was weird. It was pretty. It was weird. You feel like who's coming up behind me in the car.
Right? Yeah, I would assume like you feel less safe watching a thriller in your car as opposed to in the comfort of your own home or in a movie theater. I don't know. That's
Yeah, because
interesting.
Jason could be walking up behind me in the car. So here I want to go through this list of things here, and I actually pulled up some pictures. But let me just throw out this list of things that we can currently see you on television:
Sure.
Mood Swings, Gravesend,
Yes.
Blackish,
Yes.
Jane the Virgin, Fam. And should I be listing where people can see these? Should I, Amazon Prime, Gravesend?
Yes, Gravesend is a show that I worked on in New York, in Brooklyn, New York, and it's finally on Amazon Prime right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where they can see that. Mood Swings is a show I worked in LA. It's kind of like a modern day Golden Girls, and that's on PureFlix, which is another streaming service, which many people probably haven't heard of. It's like a like a Netflix, like an Amazon, a streaming service, but it's geared more towards the faith-based community. And actually, PureFlix looks for content that's faith-based and as well as non-faith-based. So Mood Swings wasn't exactly faith-based, but it's very family-friendly. And Blackish, of course, ABC. Yeah, absolutely. You can name where you can see them, or you can just go to the IMDb and everything's laid out there as well.
It's all there, and there's so much. I'm just going to run down these. And
Sure.
FAM, what does FAM stand for?
Family, FAM, family.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Gwen's World of Weird.
Yes, that was a show I worked on as well. That was a few years ago now. Time
Uh,
flies when you're having fun.
and Devious Maids on
That was
Lifetime.
amazing. I got to work with Susan Lucci, who's just the definition of grace. She really is humble and grateful. I mean, I was a guest coming into their show on Devious Maids, and she treated me like as if I was family, as if I was fam. I mean, she was just so sweet and so grateful to have me there when I was so grateful to be working with her. It was an amazing experience.
So I want to jump back for a minute because when we first met, it's been 10 maybe years ago or so.
Has it been that long?
It has been. It has
Wow.
been. Where were you at in this process? I wanted to ask you this just before we were ready to go live. Where were you at in this process when I first met you?
Well, I met you at Agape, a spiritual
Mhm.
center, which means unconditional love. And I think I was in a place of not very different emotionally or spiritually than where I am now. I was in a place of finding more and more ways to be grateful, discovering more about my own spiritual practice, discovering more about myself. And I feel like as an artist, as an actor, as a producer, I'm constantly growing exponentially, spiritually, mentally, physically. I'm constantly growing. And I think that I probably had a lot less credits 10 years ago, but the capacity to dream big and the love of gratitude and the love of prayer and the love of community has all just evolved throughout that time. I think that there was always, and there always, since I was a little girl, there was a fire in me for storytelling and a fire in me for performing. And I just evolved that and honed that throughout the years and really fine tuned that with classes and teachings.
So, do you think that that mindset that we talk about at Agape all the time has really helped you, especially now?
Oh, absolutely. I always say one of my mantras is gratitude is the best attitude. And I was just talking yesterday on an Instagram live about the power of gratitude and how it's a constant practice. It's not just like you decide you're going to be grateful and then you're every day wake up grateful. No, you have to constantly practice, like lifting weights, like going to the gym. You have to constantly be in that practice. So I have a gratitude partner where we get on the phone and we talk about all the things we're grateful for, and we do like a gratitude gush. I write down my gratitude. I feel like the more you are grateful, the more you have to be grateful for. The more the universe, the more God gives you to be grateful for. So I'm a big believer in gratitude. I'm a big believer in all the spiritual teachings that I've learned from Agape and that I've honed from the community. Actually, I have many prayer partners that I've met 10 years ago that I still pray with.
You know, I remember you asking me sometime if I wanted to get together and be a prayer partner, and I was terrified to do that.
You said no to me?
Well,
You
no,
said no to me.
I did.
Oh.
what isn't Liz Martin one of your prayer partners?
Liz Martin and I, we weren't prayer partners, we were future pole partners, which is a fabulous, fun way of visualizing what you want to happen. So you
Okay.
basically answer the question, I am so happy and grateful now that, and
Mm.
that's like a Mary Morrissey teaching, I believe. I'm so happy and grateful now that, and then you fill in the blank. So we would get on the phone about 2 to 3 times a week, and we would say, "Oh, I'm so happy and grateful now that," and we would just list everything that we want to happen before it happens. So if I was doing it with you right now, Jeff, I'd say, "I'm so happy and grateful now that it's June 15th and I'm on the beach in Fiji, or wherever I want to be, or whatever I want to be doing, or it's August 10th and oh my gosh, I was on set and it was amazing, and this is what happened, and this is who I met, and this is what it looked like, this is what it felt like." So you're getting into the rhythm and flow and the feeling tone of all those feelings, and it's a fun way to really hold yourself accountable for visualization.
Yeah, that's what I think it was you were trying to get me into doing.
And you didn't want to do it?
Yeah, I was a little scared. I was not real comfortable with going that way yet. It hadn't quite set into the whole agape way
Sure. Well,
as
do you
much
feel
as
like if I was to ask you now, you would want to do it?
oh, absolutely. I would say, hey, let's get together and do that because I actually need that. And I got to tell you, it felt relieving to hear you say gratitude is something you have to work at
Hmm.
because I have to struggle on a daily basis. I get up. I don't wake up being grateful.
Mm-hmm.
I wake up being kind of, you know,
Tired, grumpy?
I grumpy. As a matter of fact, my younger kids, I don't think you met my younger kids or my older kids when they were younger. They got me the Seven Dwarfs Grumpy t-shirt because they said, this is dad in the morning and give him coffee so he can change. And
Aww.
so they always give me my quiet time because I need to start my day
Hmm.
in prayer and meditation and telling myself what I need to be grateful for. And I have to work into gratitude before I get out of bed. Otherwise, I just, if I jump right out of bed, I stay grumpy all day, kind of.
I believe that morning rituals and morning routines are really important.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I love structure and I love routines and I love adding things to my day.
Hmm.
So, I mean, there's so many things that I love to do before I check my email or before I, do anything that feels like it's on my list of things to do that day. And my list of things that I love to do before I check my emails, I love checking email too. It just keeps growing. I mean, I recently added facial massage. So every morning for about 8 minutes, I give myself this like beautiful facial massage, and I'm like going through my, using my knuckles and using my hands to like massage my skin with oil. And it's so luxurious and lovely. And it's just a way to love yourself and give yourself some self care. And I feel like I keep adding to that spiritual list of practices. It's meditation, it's prayer, it's chanting, it's facial massage, it's journaling. I mean, you could spend a whole day with just your morning routine, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it takes me an hour or
Mm-hmm.
hour and a half to get out of bed and be feeling good, especially these days. It's harder to feel grateful and positive. But I want to get back into this that attitude helping you with all of these because I don't know what it's like on set. I know what it's like as a musician when I show up for gigs and
Sure.
if it's something new and I'm auditioning or I don't know the people. Your spiritual mindset must help you as you go through these. And I want to get to one of the. I was looking and it's called The Neighborhood. I
Mm-hmm.
loved that trailer and it looked really fun. So as you're going into all of those kinds of situations and meeting some of the actors, and I would like to hear a couple of stories about actors that you always looked up to that you wanted to meet. And this is one that I always thought was really hot when I was a kid. And I'm going to pull this picture up, and it is you and oh, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Is it not there? Oh, I still got to load it. I have a picture of
Now you
you.
have me wondering.
You and Donna Mills.
Oh, yes.
And tell me what that experience was like.
Absolutely. Well, I worked on Mood Swings, which is the show on the streaming service PureFlix. Was it last year? Yeah. Oh my gosh! Wow, time flies. Yeah, it was last year, and it was just a joy to work on that show. It was a comedy, so I think anytime you work on a comedy, it just sets this tone. And it's actually a really funny story of how I even booked that opportunity. Okay, here's a fun story. So I'm in Vegas on an all expenses paid trip. Private jet flew us out there. I'm put up at a penthouse suite. I have literally my own bedroom and a bathroom that's bigger than my entire 2 bedroom, 2 bath apartment right now. I mean, I was literally treated like royalty. And I'm having the most amazing time. This is all for charity. This entire trip is because I'm the chairwoman for an organization called Face Forward. Face Forward provides free reconstructive surgery to survivors of domestic violence, men, women, and children who've been beaten, battered, abused, human trafficking. So it's an amazing organization, and we were put up by one of our biggest sponsors. So I'm in this incredible situation in Vegas, and I was deciding between which penthouse suite, I know that sounds funny, which penthouse suite to go with. And in one of the rooms of one of the penthouse suites, there was a sign on the wall, and it said, "Sit underneath this sign and make a wish." And I was like, oh, I don't care about the view. I don't care about anything else. I'm picking the penthouse suite, and I'm picking the bedroom with that sign. That's where I want to sleep tonight. So I'm in Vegas having the greatest time of my life. And before we go out and have dinner and go out to shows, I sit under the sign and I do my rituals. I do my prayer, I do my meditation, I chant, I do everything underneath this powerful, gigantic painting on the wall in this penthouse suite bedroom. And then, go out to dinner. And about 10 o'clock at night, I get a text message from a friend of mine that I haven't spoke to in maybe a year. And she says, "Christina, do you speak Italian, and can you speak with an Italian accent, and are you available for the next couple months?" And I was like, yes, I can speak a little Italian. I can speak with an Italian accent, and I'm currently in Vegas, but yeah, I'll be available, and I'll be back on Sunday night. And she says, great. She immediately text messages me back and says, send me your reel. Send me any footage you have of you speaking with an Italian accent. I need it ASAP. I didn't even know what it was for, but it was like, okay, sure. So I do all that. And I also copy my manager on that. And then within like 2 hours, I get another email. It's now midnight. And everything's going great. We absolutely love this reel. We want to meet with this actress. We need to fill this role ASAP. And it's like, well, I'm in Vegas and I'm not supposed to fly back until Sunday night. And they're like, well, can you fly back any sooner? So eventually we go home that night from the shows and the dinner and all the fanciness in Vegas. And I pray underneath that sign again. And we weren't supposed to fly back to Vegas on the private jet till about 8, 9 o'clock at night on Sunday night. But through my prayer, we ended up leaving at 4 o'clock. We were already back in Burbank by 4:30 p.m. By 5 o'clock, I was sitting in a restaurant with the director and the producer and the creator and a bunch of other people attached to the show. And they were handing me 300 pages worth of scripts and saying, "We'll see you on set tomorrow morning, 6 a.m.
Whoa. Okay. That gives me a panic attack right there.
Oh, that was, what was so powerful about that experience, actually? And this is the experience where I worked with Donna Mills on. I had no time for fear. Normally, if I was to audition and go through the process of auditioning for this big series regular opportunity, I would have fear thoughts. I would have thoughts, oh, I'm not really good enough, or I'm not really born in Italy, and I don't really have a great Italian accent, or blah, 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 blah. Negative, negative, negative thoughts. And I would talk myself somehow out of feeling like I'm able to do a great job of this role. There was absolutely no time to have even one fearful thought. I literally came home, still unpacking from Vegas, and had to read 300 pages worth of scripts to be on set the next day. Luckily, the costume designer is on the phone going through my entire wardrobe trying to figure out what we can bring in, because I was replacing somebody else. So I
Mhm.
originally didn't have this role. So because I was replacing someone else, they needed me like ASAP, and they didn't have time to do the typical wardrobe fittings and all the stuff they would normally have time to do. So I was thrown into it, and I had no time to even memorize or really do the practice of how I would normally prepare for a role. So all I could focus on is, okay, this is what I'm shooting today. Let's get off the page. Let's make decisions. Let's be the best we can be. No time for any fear. Just jump into it. Use all the tools that I already knew that were within me and just go for it.
Oh, well, here, this is one thing that fascinates me about actors. So, and I guess maybe it's the same as musicians being able to memorize music fairly quickly, but the fact that actors have to be able to read really well. I mean, there can't be an issue with reading. You've got to be able to read and retain what you just read instantly. And when you're getting 300 pages, and here's the other thing that I don't really understand, but I see it'll say so and so is got this kind of mood, so you have to read that before you read the line, so you know how you're supposed to be acting. Is that right?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think it's about absorbing the story. And that's why it was so important for me to read all 300 pages, because 300 pages was not what I was going to shoot in one day. That would be insane.
Oh, I
But that gives me 8 episodes of an entire series. So now I know the entire arc of the story, of the
oh
character, where the show is going. So then when I go on set the following morning at 6 a.m. and I'm only maybe actually shooting maybe 15 pages or 10 pages, depending on the day, I know where it is in relationship to the whole. So
oh
it's creating a world, it's creating a character, but the normal preparation I would do for something like that would have taken a lot longer. And I probably would have hired a coach, and I probably would have done things extra that I didn't have the time to do on this because I was thrown into it so quickly. But it was great. It was a great opportunity for me to realize that I have so much within me and I have so many tools, and it was just another reminder that what's the point of having a fearful thought? It's not going to serve me.
you know I love hearing you say that, and I find myself in this situation realizing that I'm okay, I'm afraid of something, and what's the purpose.
Hmm.
However, sometimes getting that fear out is really hard to just not really ignore it, but not let it bother me. And I know when I'm working and doing sound these days, I get a little afraid, but the minute my hand touches the mixing board and I start working, I forget that I'm afraid.
I love that.
Is it similar when you're acting? Like you might think the thoughts coming in, but the minute you start working, you forget it.
Well, I think it's important to acknowledge the fearful thoughts and kind of like cradle them like you would a baby, and to be in touch with them so you're not having a spiritual bypass, you're not ignoring them, you're allowing the fact that you're having this, and to also treat it like it's just excitement. And nervous and excitement are kind of in the same energy field.
Mhm.
So I do agree with you that the minute you're in the flow and the minute you're jumping into the story and you're absorbed in the world, as a musician you're absorbed in the music, and the music is telling this beautiful story, right? And you're creating
Mhm.
this story, and it's the same thing. As an actor, you're creating this world and you're helping to create this story, and it's all part of a team. Just like you are as a musician, you're a part of a team. If you're playing with other players, you're all like creating this world together. So I always feel it's either fear or love, and you can't be choosing love while you're choosing fear. So you have to decide. And if I had to decide between love and fear, I'm going team love.
Yeah, team love. I like that. I like that. So then, so you get that you read the 300 pages, you show up. What's your Italian accent like?
Oh, well, I actually had some help with that, which was really great. So that was I had my manager on set with me, who's born and raised in Italy, and I was able to just ask him, at least for the first day of that experience, hey, how am I doing? How's it sounding? And I just had fun with it. I just had a lot of fun. And what I did is I listened to Italian music. I actually constantly was singing Quando, quando tu verrai, quando. And I would just sing Italian songs because when you sing, I believe that your mouth is more open and the vowels kind of all come out and it just flows. So it's actually really funny. Right before they would call action, the whole like they'd say, Christina, give me a quando, as opposed to Christina, give me like a test 1 2 3, or I need to check the sound. They'd be like, Christina, quando, and I'd be like, quando, and it would just open my mouth and relax my jaw. And for me, I actually did a ton of singing when I wasn't shooting, when I wasn't acting, because it just helped. And I would just constantly be playing Italian music on my phone as much as possible. When I was in my trailer, I would just always have Italian music playing. So that was my little trick.
Well, well, that makes me want to ask you this, or kind of jump back a little bit further. And this is one thing that I learned when we first were talking. I've learned so much about you. You started as a young child in musical theater and wanting to be in musical theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know you could sing or wanted to be a singer or sang. So when you started doing, and I read this, working with Natalie Portman as a Munchkin in The Wizard of Oz, is tell me about all of that and where you were singing, because also when I was looking through some of your photos, I noticed you had a microphone in a few photos, and I'm going, I wonder if she sings. And then I read that you were in musical theater. So is that still a love of you, and how much singing helps you because it's something you're interested in?
Absolutely. Well, I always say that singing is my first love. And you can't take the loves away from you. And it's like riding a bike. I mean, I don't think you ever really forget, right? Like, you never really forget how to ride a bike once you learned how to ride a bike as a child. And I learned at a young age to sing, and I grew up in a very musical house. My father is a singer, and he doesn't talk about it much. Excuse me. He's a successful businessman, and he's worked for 3M company for so many years. But his first love was singing. And he's a phenomenal singer, and he has a beautiful voice. So I grew up in a house where Pavarotti was always playing, and there was always just beautiful music in my house. And I always grew up with a baby grand piano. So it's actually very strange that I don't have a piano in my house right now, because for the majority of my life, I think when I was in college, I might not have had a piano in my dorm room, but at least it was nearby. I've always had a piano like in my home. It's like part of the furniture. So there was always music playing at a young age. So singing was absolutely my first love. Yes, I performed with Natalie Portman as Munchkins together in The Wizard of Oz when her name was Natalie Hirschlag and her dog was Toto in that Wizard of Oz production.
Wow.
And that's a funny story because we were actually, we were sitting around. I think she was a little younger than 13 at the time. And we were all saying like what we want to be when we grow up. And she says, oh, I want to be a doctor like my daddy. And we were saying, Natalie, like you're already acting and you're already an actress. You don't want to be an actress? And she's like, no, I think I want to be a doctor. So recently at a screening where I got to see her, I said, Natalie, I'm so grateful that you didn't become a doctor and that you did enter the world of entertainment and you've gifted us with your acting skills. So yes, it was an absolutely amazing experience working with her and singing and dancing. And that was my first love, was singing and dancing. I actually got a scholarship to the Boston Conservatory for a BFA program, a bachelor's in fine arts. And I was there for my first year of college, strictly every single day, singing, dancing, and acting. Acting probably being still a focus, but not as strong as the musical strength of the Boston Conservatory. It's a conservatory. So every day we had piano lessons, we had voice lessons, we had ballet, tap, modern, acting classes. I mean, there was no math, there was no science class. So it was really, really a strict, intense program. And my plan was to graduate there after 4 years and go on to New York City and then try out for all the Broadway productions and just be on Broadway. And that was my thought process. And then God said, well, I have a different plan for you, Christina. So I took the expression break a leg literally when I was on stage performing in upstate New York at a summer stock production. I literally was trying out new things with my body and I fell, I fainted, I put all my weight on my left kneecap. I broke my leg. I was told by a doctor that I would never dance again. That, of course, is a lie. I can absolutely dance. But it did impact that year of my life, and I couldn't go back to the Boston Conservatory because I wouldn't be able to dance for at least a year.
Oh,
So I took off some time. I went to a community college for a year, and then I pivoted and I said, okay, I'm going to focus. If I can't sing, dance, and act, how about I just act? How about I just do one of those that doesn't involve the singing and the dancing? And my parents were extremely supportive, thank God, and they said, okay, whatever you want to do, just let's focus on your GEs right now. Let's get some credits out of the way. I did that, and then I applied to UCLA and USC and a couple other colleges in California. And I was the first one in my family ever to move west, and here I am.
so do you play piano?
I used to play more. I think that is something that you don't completely forget it, but if you don't practice it, yeah.
Right. See, because if you had a piano, I'd say, okay, play and sing a song for me.
I wish I don't have a piano in this current situation where I live right now, but I think eventually, in a couple of years, I'll get that piano again. There's something I love a piano. I think it's one of the most beautiful instruments, and it's just a piece of art. A piano, oh my gosh, especially like a grand or a baby grand. It's just sexy.
Well, right? Well,
Right?
when I was a kid, though, everybody had pianos in their homes
Hmm.
in my hometown. And the reason, and I think my mom and a lot of people that were the adults in the 60s came up from a time when the only way people could get entertainment is they'd sit around and sing around the piano.
Hmm.
So everybody had a piano, and it was odd to not see a home or see a home that didn't have a piano.
Hmm.
It wasn't until I got here that I started seeing the baby grand pianos in everybody's home. And I go, how how do they get these big baby grands in their homes? I'm like, oh man. But it was unusual to not see a piano. So I think that people are getting away from that a little bit. But when you got out here, I want to go back to coming out here. You ended up at UCLA,
Correct.
and in that theatrical department. My daughter went there, and
Oh,
she went for theatrical sound,
wow.
the oldest. And I just want to throw this out. She's actually, because I'm a proud papa, she
No.
is one of the front of house mixers for Chicago at the Ambassador. Um,
Nice. Congratulations.
yeah, so I mean she's not working right now, but she went to UCLA, and there's a lot of UCLA alumni in New York City working as sound people. So so you come out here, you go there, and is that where you started really honing your acting skills?
Oh, you mean at UCLA?
UCLA? I
Yes,
mean,
that was
from that.
yes, that was a big there was a lot of studying that went there, but of course at UCLA I'm not getting a BFA, I'm getting a BA. So then I'm actually taking classes that I wouldn't have been taking if I was to stay at the Boston Conservatory, where I was only taking acting and singing and dancing and music and arts and art history. So I did have to expand my knowledge a little more, which was actually wonderful.
Yeah. So then you're focused on acting, and then what was your first acting job that really felt like, okay, now I know I'm on the right path? Which one was it that made you feel like this is it?
It's a good question. I think what's interesting is I did have a professional acting job when I was in high school, outside of high school. So that gave me confidence. But then when I moved to California, I'd say some of the first exciting projects were a commercial for Albertson. I believe that's what got me my SAG card. Yeah. And I remember it was a big commercial because Patricia Heaton was in that commercial. And I was just so excited with all the money that was coming in and that it was airing and holding, and I was getting paid for even not to air. So I thought that was so exciting. And then I think also theatrically, I'd say when I booked Entourage, that felt like a high for me because I was such a fan of the show. And even though it wasn't an enormous role, it still felt like, wow, I'm on a show with these guys and I get to be on set with these amazing guys. And it was so much fun. And I just had such a blast meeting all those guys and playing pretend that that made me go, okay, I'm in this world. I'm here. I'm not leaving.
Oh, that's cool. I love that show too. And I think that I knew you by then. I think was that like 2008? When did
Oh,
Entourage start?
I have to look at the IMDb to get the exact year, to be
Oh
honest.
man. Yeah, I'm just trying to remember because I think I remember seeing you in the show. I'm like, "Oh, I
Mhm.
know her." So uh, then you that's led to all of this list of things that I'm seeing here. Um, and I've kind of went through them. The Astronaut Wives Club on ABC.
That
Uh,
was great. I shot that in New Orleans, so that was a lot of fun. And yeah, it unfortunately didn't have many seasons. A lot of times you'll work on a show as a guest cast, and you just don't know if the show is going to get picked up for a second or a third season. So it's funny. Sometimes you'll work on a show and you might even book a reoccurring, which means you're in multiple episodes, but you're only at first booking that one episode, and you might only book the other episodes if the show gets picked up. So there's so many unknown factors. Just like in music, you don't know exactly all the time, where your next gig is or where it's coming from. There's a lot of unknown factors in this industry, and that's why the spiritual practices help.
yeah, I hope you don't feel like I'm jumping around too much,
No,
but
it's fine. It's fine. I mean, it's all connected. I feel like music and acting are very connected because they're both art forms. So
yeah,
I love connecting them, and I love talking about it like this.
okay, terrific. So then the one recurring star, General Hospital,
Mm-hmm.
that is something that keeps on going, and General Hospital is still airing. Is that correct?
I'm not currently still working on it, but yes, it is still
It's
airing.
still going. And what? Just out of curiosity, what are some of all of those things doing right now? Are they because I'm not a soap opera guy, but they film regular. They don't film a season and then put it out, right?
Well, right now everything is on hold because of COVID-19. So more the reason, right now it's a good time I think to get on social media and do what you're doing right now with this new show. I think it's a good time to get creative and to figure out ways from your own home to create content because who knows exactly the date of when things will start up again. But right now nobody that I know is shooting.
Right. Well, this was one of the reasons why I started this whole thing is the gigging industry, which is
Mm-hmm.
musicians and people like myself that are kind of off the radar in terms of regular paychecks and be all of that sort of thing, and 1099 gigging workers. The minute live events stopped, I went away. My work went away, and a lot of actors are in the same boat. And I don't know if people really understand the the weight of what's happening on this city alone in terms of not just the actors, but those that support you while you're on set.
Oh,
The makeup
absolutely.
artists and all the lighting people and the camera people, and none of those people are working, right?
Oh, absolutely. No, there's absolutely no production currently right now shooting. There's different articles. I read just about every single variety and deadline article that comes up, and I try to stay as on top of it as possible. So there's talk right now about hopefully June, July for some production companies to begin. It depends on the size of the production. For example, I'm one of the producers on a production that was scheduled to begin shooting March 23rd, 2020. Obviously, that didn't happen with COVID 19. So now we're just waiting until SAG says we can shoot. We have the cast ready to go, the crew's ready to go. Everyone's kind of on hold until we get the date that we can begin. Money's there, everything's available. It's just a matter of when can we start shooting because we need to have this movie shot and done so we can sell it. So yeah, there's a lot of anxiety running around this town for certain. I think people like Tyler Perry are in a real advantage because Tyler Perry has his own studios in Atlanta, and
Mhm.
because the studios are so large, he can actually put on his studios portable hotels, and then he can quarantine all the actors, all the cast, anyone who's going to be working on the production for about 14 days prior to the start date of the shooting, and then be testing them regularly, making sure that no one is sick, that nobody is testing with COVID-19. So things are going to be drastically changing in this industry. That's why I'm very grateful. My partners and I at Dig Entertainment are working on animation because you don't have to deal with all that in animation. You're not dealing with actors on set together. I was having a conversation yesterday and they were saying, like, when do we think actors will ever be able to shoot a love scene? I mean, if they're trying to keep it really clean, I don't think you're going to see a lot of hanky panky on set, right?
Right. So uh, that's a good point. I mean, even touching people, even hugging, you know. Um,
Yeah, Tyler Perry was saying in his article that he unfortunately actually lost one of his makeup artists, someone very close to him, to COVID-19. Someone who passed away, unfortunately. So he's taking this very seriously, and he said that he's going to have everyone besides the actors wearing masks at all times, and then really limiting the amount of extras. So maybe only having like 10 extras per day on set. So then you think about movies that have been done on a multi-million dollar movies that have been done with hundreds and hundreds of extras. You might not see movies like that for a long time.
mhm. Well, let me ask you. I know you're going into animation, but do you feel like being a producer and give us a little bit of an idea of what a producer does? Because I think some people, at least my where I grew up, nobody really knows what a producer does. Are you like, what's a producer do? They got the money, I mean, uh, but are you in better position coming out of this as a producer or an actor? And tell me about all of how that role is different.
Well, definitely the role of an actor is different than the role of a producer. As an actor, when you arrive on set, you're usually handed a script and handed a call sheet, and or handed your sides for the day and handed a call sheet, and maybe asked what you want to eat or drink, and shown to craft service and taken to hair and makeup. And it's a very different experience than if you're a producer on set, where it depends what kind of producer you are, actually. And like you said, sure, some producers, executive producers, are either bringing in the money or finding the money or actually financing it themselves, the production. There's all different types of producers. There's associate producers and co-producers and producers and executive producers. So it depends. Personally, for me as a producer, my strengths as a producer are putting the artistic team together, finding the script, finding all the players. Basically, think of it like connecting dots. It's kind of one way to think of producing. You're problem solving all the time, and you're connecting dots together. You're putting the pieces together of this puzzle. It really is a puzzle because there's so many elements to and miracles that go into actually having a production be greenlit and go into production. So personally, as a producer, I, with my partners, are working on putting the deals together, putting the teams together, and it's a powerful place to be. So yes, to answer your question, I feel like it's an exciting place, and it's even more powerful than being an actress.
And coming out of this, are you going to be better off being the producer? Do you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I would actually encourage anyone who's listening to this or watching this who is an actor, I would encourage them to not just think of themselves as an actor. And I think what's so fascinating nowadays is if you just jump on social media, you just jump on TikTok, for example, and you as an actor create a video, you are, by de facto, you are the editor, the set dresser, the DP, the writer of this TikTok video. And maybe it's only 15 seconds, but it's kind of like a mini commercial. I mean, if commercials are 60 seconds, a 15-second TikTok video is a smaller version of a commercial. And you as the actor are forced to not just be the actor anymore. You're forced to also look at the lighting and look at the framing and look at the props that you have involved and the wardrobe. So you're wearing multiple hats. So it's a great time, especially while we're stuck at home now, to be playing on these apps and playing on these interesting forms of social media to create your own content.
Well, I think it's interesting how you just described that. I don't think a lot of people who now just sit in their room and go, okay, I need to get this light right, and I need to get this microphone right, and I need to do this, and oh, I should do this makeup. I don't think they realize that when you go to a bigger production and you're doing a movie, there are teams of people in each of those positions that do that.
Oh,
And
sure.
understanding all of that. And I just want to put more of a point on those who are not working right now that usually would do all that.
Mm.
So as a person sits in their house and they start doing all those things, they go, oh man, how did those lighting guys do that?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and there's one position that I always wanted to know what it means. What is a line producer?
Oh, a line producer could be someone who's actually working on the budget, who's actually working underneath the other producers or the head producers, I'd say, and working on yeah, mostly dealing with paychecks and schedules and all that stuff. So it's a lot of paperwork.
Oh, it's kind of a paperwork person.
That's one way to look at it. Yeah, I mean
Or-
they could be going line by line of, a budget could be 30 pages or even longer, and going line by line and putting it all together and working on all the fine tuning all those details.
See, there's even more stuff that go into making a movie and being I, you need accountants. You need
Oh,
people.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the amount of people, when you talk about people out of a job right now and you look at like the unemployment rate in California alone, absolutely, we're at a very high unemployment rate because in the entertainment industry alone, you have PAs, you have grips, you have sound electricians, you have carpenters, you have, I mean, I remember one time, here's a funny job. I remember one time I shot a production and I had to eat a lot during the production.
Mhm.
And there was actually a guy who would stand right next to me, like on the floor underneath the table that I was sitting on, and he would hold a bucket. And he was in charge of like my spit bucket because I would spit out the food after I like ate it in the commercial, but I chewed it and then spit it out. I know this is gross, but my point is that was his job, and thank God for him because I certainly didn't want to be eating all that food take after take after take. But that was his job to like hold that spit bucket, right? So there's so many people that go into a production. I always think of being on set or being, in any type of production as like going to a Dodger game. Everybody's like, go blue, right? Like
Right?
everyone's team Dodgers or team Lakers. And it's the same feeling when you're working on a show. Or if you, as a musician, or, doing a gig, you're, performing at a certain concert or performing something, like you want so badly for everything to go smoothly and perfectly and just feel good and sound good. Same thing. And there's so many elements and so many players involved, but you're all rooting for the same team. And that feels amazing.
Mm. Now, there's two things that I was thinking as you shared all of that. Number one is as a producer, now those are all of the elements that you're thinking about, all of those different things as a producer. And that's a lot of stuff to think about. So, and then the one thing that you have to think about is the spit bucket. I'm like, oh my God, how many times I'm watching people eat things on TV and I'm wondering, are they really eating that stuff? Aren't they full? And then, are they just faking chewing? So you just answered my question. They actually take the bites and chew, and then they spit it out. I didn't.
It depends. I mean, it depends. It depends on what you're eating and how delicious it is. I've had many times where the food looks delicious, but it's not actually delicious because in order to make the food look delicious, it may have to be glazed or it might actually be. I remember one time I was eating rice, which is fine because I don't eat meat, so it wasn't like I was eating something against my principles, but it was hard and it was uncooked because it looked better if it was like hard and cold as
Mm,
opposed to if it was hot and warm, it would be like soft and it wouldn't look as pretty in the picture, in the frame. So it was just hard and not delicious at all and very dry, and it, it just didn't taste good. So why would I eat it?
And you have to act like it's really good.
Exactly. That's where the acting comes by. Yeah, exactly. You're pretending, you're playing make believe, and you're pretending it's delicious.
You know, and I got to say, I know there are other things I noticed. One time I did some sound for the Desperate Housewives wrap party.
Oh,
And
fun.
I went up and I put speakers in all of the houses so we could make announcements from a central location and where on Wisteria Lane, wherever you were, you could hear it. And this is what really blew me away. When you walk into those homes, they're beat to crap. I mean, there were like holes in the walls, and I asked them, how can this look so bad? And they go, well, people don't notice it on TV. You don't notice it on the small screen that something like there's this really ugly green shag carpet in one of the houses. And they said people don't notice that. And I think that when you were describing the rice, there's so many different things that the camera guy looks at that it just gives it. It doesn't matter whether it tastes good, or it just all depends on how it looks when it's on camera.
Yeah,
And
they call it movie magic.
and that's the other thing we were talking about before we went live. And if I haven't already mentioned this, I think I already mentioned this. You paid attention to what was on your wall and the lighting and all of that stuff because you're a producer. I need to have you work with everybody I have on my show ahead of time. Okay, you're going to be on my show tonight. Call Christina DeRosa. She will
Oh.
tell you what you need to have done.
Well, it's funny during this time, staying at home during this quarantine time, it's like we're forced to be in our homes even more. I've never been more appreciative and more grateful for the fact that I have a home and the fact that my home is beautiful and that I have so many different props and different things I can pull from. And, it's fun to kind of do some set decorating.
Well, and what is this behind you that we're looking at the New York up leveling?
Okay, well, actually, behind me is a vision board that I created probably around January 2020 for this year. And I always believe in having a word of the year. So, a word of the year is like a word that every decision you make will be based on. Every time you're at a crossroads and going, oh, what should I do here? You go back to that word of the year. So, my word for the year is up leveling. And it's funny because right when this coronavirus hit, I was thinking, my gosh, how am I going to still up level this year? Everything I wanted to do is now feeling like it's on hold. But I really had to sit with that and reflect and meditate and pray on it and go, you know what? No, I can still up level this year. I could still be up leveling. Maybe it's not going to look the way I thought it was going to look, and it's not going to be on my timeline, and it's not going to be the things that I thought were going to necessarily up level at the dates I thought they were going to happen. But I'm still going to up level. I'm going to up level my mind. I'm going to up level my spiritual practice. I'm going to up level all the titles I wear, not just what I do as a career, as an actress, as a producer, but me being a sister, me being a daughter, me just being a spiritual being. So that's been a real powerful shift. What's funny is this left-hand corner up here actually has the Statue of Liberty and the Empire State Building and a couple other fun little stickers that represent New York. And I had 2 trips this year to New York planned, one for the Tribeca Film Festival and one in July for another family fun gathering. So they are both canceled. But that's okay. And it's funny because I was debating, like, my gosh, should I even keep my vision board on the wall this year? Everything feels so different. But I decided to keep it still on the wall as a reminder every day when I wake up to go, no, I'm still choosing that this is my year of up leveling. And so what? I can't be in New York this year as I planned. So what? I still can do so much. And there's still so many ways I can up level. So it's still there and it's still behind me. And yeah, there's many other pictures of places I was planning on going and places I wanted to travel. And many things have changed and shifted, but the spirit of the vision board, and the spirit of the word up leveling is still within me.
Yeah. While you were sharing, I was thinking that you could not be more of a better person to be talking to, because you're touching all of the aspects that are a big part of my life.
Mm,
Even though I'm a musician and or sound guy, I have this huge spiritual world in which I exist. And many times when we do interviews or talk to people about things that are going, we don't interject the spiritual aspects of what we do. And I appreciate that about you, and sharing all that with me, and those that are tuning in, because that's been a big part of what I've been doing with these interviews. So thank you.
absolutely. I think it's important, and I think it's important as an artist, whether we're actors or singers or dancers or producers, that we do have a spiritual practice. And I think it's important for anyone listening, no matter what you do, no matter what your profession is, it all begins right here, right inside of you, and
Yeah.
what's really going on here. And that's why I always say gone are the days where I allow my career to dictate my happiness.
Wow. That, you know, that's a really good thing to hear for me,
Mm,
because I'm not going to be able to right now. I'm not doing what I've always done. I have to find a different way, and I can't identify with that anymore. That part of me, it's like that's not my happiness.
mm.
Just being here with Mackenzie and doing this is now my happiness. And my happiness doesn't need to be attached to anything that I do specifically.
Absolutely. And you can still be performing. I mean, not right now out at a gig, but on your own and posting them on social media. You could be posting on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or whatever platform you prefer, and gather your fans and your followers. And there's even ways to make money on social media, through the arts and through the things that you love. So that's exciting. I mean, it's different. I get that it's totally different and it's a new way of thinking, but there are possibilities out there and there are opportunities out there.
Well, and we're almost at an hour, if you can believe it. You know, but I want to make a point of you are really involved in a lot of charitable events, and you mentioned the one that. Uh, can you tell me more about the one that you were going to Las Vegas for the? Tell me a little bit more about that, and then also your work with the LA Mission.
Absolutely. I'm a big believer in giving back.
Hmm.
One of my favorite songs at Agape is, how can I serve today, sweet spirit? How can I serve today, oh Lord? It just really use me and show me how can I serve. So to me, serving is so important. I serve as the chairwoman for an amazing organization called Face Forward. Face Forward provides free reconstructive surgery to survivors of domestic violence, human trafficking, or any cruel act of violence. So we're literally giving someone a smile back. Let's say, unfortunately, there's so many cases of acid attacks, and for example, one of our survivors was opening the door in London to his home on Christmas Eve and thinking it was a UPS man, and it was actually someone who threw acid on him and completely burned his entire face, as well as his neck and shoulders and other areas. And his own child, his own little boy, didn't recognize him. So there are cruel acts of mistaken identity. There are cruel acts of violence. So we are giving the free surgery back, not just the emotional support, but physically giving someone free surgery. So it's been very, very, very powerful to be involved in that charity and support and build awareness and raise funds for them. It's been something I've done for the last couple of years, and I've just loved it. I love the people I've met. I feel like when I enter into charity and charitable organizations and charity situations, I just like attracts like, and I meet the most wonderful people. So that's been an amazing experience. And when I say people, it's the survivors as well as the people who are volunteering and fundraising and on both sides of it. So it's just been fabulous. And this year, it hurts my heart that I missed out on a few different opportunities, of course, because they're canceled because of COVID-19, to volunteer and to actually be feeding the homeless. So I love to serve and feed the community and feed people who are experiencing homelessness. I usually do that a couple times a year at the LA mission or the rescue mission. And I always post about it, and I always post a picture from serving because I feel like it's something that anybody can do. And they look for hundreds of volunteers, not just on special holidays, but they look for hundreds of volunteers usually every day of the week. So that's why I post about it so much, because anyone can volunteer. It's like what Martin Luther King said: anybody could be great because anybody could be of service.
Hmm. So if someone wants to find out about the Face Forward organization, they can find out information on your website, can they?
Not on my IMDb, but they can go to the Face Forward website, faceforwardla.org, O-R-G, and everything is there. And actually, May 5th is a global campaign. It's called Giving Tuesday Now. It's a global campaign where all charities are coming together and just asking for any type of donation. And I always say, in the fight against domestic violence, every dollar counts.
Hmm. Okay. Well, that is, we got the things out at the very beginning is your new film that's going to come out on May 22nd, Inheritance.
Well, it's already out now on DirecTV, if you
DirecTV.
have DirecTV. If you don't have DirecTV, you have to wait until May 22nd.
Okay, well, that would be me. Wait
No
until
problem.
wait a second. And then the other than all of the stuff we talked about in the middle, your charity Face Forward to those are a couple of highlights I would like people to take out of this, to watch you on your new movie coming out, to look you up on IMDb and see all of the different things you've been in.
Thank you.
And I'm a fan, and I a couple of these shows I want to watch now. It, because I'm looking for things to watch on TV. I'm looking for things to stream. And
Absolutely.
I get easily bored. So I'm always looking for things to watch. And
Absolutely. You could watch Christina DeRosa.
right? All right. So thank you for being here, and thank you for putting up with me not really knowing a lot of stuff.
Jeff, you
But
did great. Give yourself credit. Let's give him a hand, everyone.
you know, uh, I this is keeping me entertained, and it everybody that I have on, I've learned so much about you. You grew up in New York City, I don't believe, or in New York, and all of that experience, and that you were a singer, dancer, and all of that. And I didn't know you went to UCLA, so I learned a bunch about you. So this has been really good for me.
Thank you so much. It's been fun for me too. I appreciate you.
Okay, so I'm going to take us out and play my usual song. And thank you for being here. And tune in to Inheritance, May 22nd.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Okay, my music stopped playing. How about that? I am a professional. I do this occasionally, but I need my music to play before I can. There we go. Okay, now I can officially close it out.
Ta-da!
All right. Thank you. Oh.